Welcome to our deep dive into Charles Dickens,
Yeah.
A Tale of Two Cities. You've given us quite a stack of interesting sources for this one,
Yeah, we have.
from a YouTube video review
Mm-hmm.
to the actual text from Project Gutenberg,
Yeah.
and even some Goodreads opinions thrown in there. We're talking revolution, intrigue, and characters who stay with you
Oh, absolutely.
long after you finish the book.
Yeah.
I think that's Dickens's forte, wouldn't you say?
I think so. I think so. He was, what's fascinating is that Dickens was writing just a few decades
Oh, yeah.
after the French Revolution. So those events were still fresh in people's minds.
Yeah.
This wasn't just history. It was lived experience. He wasn't just telling a story. He was holding a mirror up to society.
Oh, I love that. I love that idea. And it's interesting because he also references the American Revolution.
Uh-huh.
I'm already hooked by the setup. Hidden identities, lost memories, and a plot that hinges on a message as simple as recall to life.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1775, a world on the brink of massive change.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Dickens draws parallels to the American Revolution, which was unfolding at the same time.
Right.
Could you help unpack what made this period in France so volatile?
Sure.
What specific injustices were simmering beneath the surface?
Well, imagine a society where a select few live in opulent luxury, while the vast majority struggle to survive,
Right.
their voices silenced, their pleas for fairness ignored.
Yeah.
That was the reality in France. The common people were facing dire conditions, poverty, hunger, and oppression at the hands of the aristocracy and the monarchy. They had no voice in government, bore the brunt of taxation, and were denied basic rights.
And Dickens captures this contrast so vividly right from the opening lines of the book. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times.
Yes.
He really sets the stage for the revolution to come, doesn't he?
Absolutely. Dickens highlights this stark duality, prosperity for some, misery for others.
Yeah.
He forces us to confront the inequalities that were tearing French society apart.
Okay, so we have this backdrop of social unrest.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dickens introduces us to this cast of unforgettable characters.
Yeah.
We've got Charles Darnay, a French aristocrat,
Okay.
who renounces his title and family legacy to make a new life in England. He falls in love with Lucy Manette,
Right.
a young woman who is unaware of her own father's mysterious past.
Very good.
And then you've got Sidney Carton, the brilliant
Yes.
but self-destructive lawyer.
Oh, Carton.
He's so complex. What do you make of his choices?
Well, Carton seems to embody a paradox, doesn't he? He's brilliant, yet self-destructive.
Absolutely.
I wonder if Dickens was commenting on a broader societal issue through him, the wasted potential of those who are marginalized or feel they have no place in the existing order. Carton recognizes his own potential,
Right.
but struggles to break free from his self-destructive habits.
That's an interesting thought. He seems to have given up on life, drinks too much, wastes his talents. One Goodreads reviewer even called him Tessa's favorite,
Oh, really?
suggesting that despite his flaws, there's something about Carton that deeply resonates with readers.
I can see that. Maybe it's his vulnerability, his
Right.
capacity for deep feeling that draws people to him. He represents a kind of raw humanity that we don't always see in the more polished characters.
Yeah, he's really human, isn't he?
Yeah.
And then there's Dr. Manette, Lucy's father. Imagine being recalled to life
Oh, yeah.
after 18 years of unjust imprisonment in the Bastille. We first meet him clinging to the repetitive task of shoemaking, a shadow of his former self.
Dr. Manette's experience really brings home the psychological impact of trauma and isolation.
Right?
He's been robbed of his identity, his profession, his very sense of self.
It's heartbreaking when Lucy first sees him in this state. Dickens describes him as a white-haired, haggard old man, his eyes hollow and wild, barely able to recognize his own daughter.
And his shoemaking, which
Yeah.
he learned in prison to cope with the unbearable monotony and loneliness, becomes a symbol of his brokenness. It's a testament to Dickens' skill as a writer that he can convey the profound effects of psychological trauma so vividly.
Yeah.
You feel Dr. Manette's pain, his confusion, his struggle to reconnect with a world that has moved on without him.
You've highlighted these recurring echoes in the novel.
Right.
For a listener who might be encountering this for the first time, how do these echoes function?
Well, they work on multiple levels.
Okay.
They serve as a constant reminder that the past is never truly gone.
Mm-hmm.
It shapes our present and influences our future.
Okay.
Just as Lucy is haunted by the echoes of her father's imprisonment, so too is the revolution haunted by the echoes of past injustices.
Okay.
They also create a sense of foreboding hinting at the violence and upheaval to come.
So we have these characters, each carrying their own burdens and secrets, navigating a world on the brink of revolution. And then, of course, there's the love triangle that develops between Charles, Lucy, and Sydney.
Ah, yes, the love triangle. It's a classic literary device, but Dickens uses it to explore more than just romantic entanglements. We see how love and sacrifice can play out against a backdrop of social upheaval, how personal choices are intertwined with larger historical forces.
It seems like Dickens is saying that even amidst chaos and revolution, the human heart still yearns for connection and love.
Precisely. And the choices these characters make in the face of love and duty will have profound consequences, not just for themselves, but for everyone around them.
This is already so much more than just a love story or a historical drama. It feels like Dickens is weaving a tapestry of individual lives and societal forces.
He really is.
He is.
It's masterful. Welcome back. We're in the thick of it now, with these characters' lives becoming increasingly intertwined with the revolution brewing around them.
It's fascinating to see how Dickens portrays the revolution's impact on daily life, even the smallest details. Like that scene where Miss Pross, Lucy's devoted maid, is shopping for wine and worries about the redheads drinking toasts. What might seem like a mundane detail suddenly becomes charged with political meaning.
It speaks volumes about the pervasive atmosphere of fear and suspicion. Even the simple act of buying wine becomes tinged with political anxiety. You never know who might be watching, who might be an informant.
Exactly. And then there's the constant threat of violence that hangs over everything. Dickens describes these dreadful carts rolling through the streets, carrying the condemned to their execution. It's a chilling reminder of the revolution's brutality.
This juxtaposition is deliberate on Dickens' part. He wants us to see the revolution's impact not just on a grand scale, but also on the intimate lives of ordinary people. Their hopes and dreams, their fears and anxieties are all shaped by the events unfolding around them.
It makes you think about the true cost of revolution. Yes, it can bring about necessary change, but at what price? How many innocent lives are lost along the way? How deep are the scars that remain?
These are precisely the questions Dickens grapples with. He doesn't shy away from depicting the revolution's violence and its potential to corrupt even the most noble ideals.
And you mentioned earlier how Dr. Manette's personal journey mirrors the struggle of France itself. He is recalled to life not just from his physical imprisonment, but also from the mental and emotional prison of his trauma.
Right. His recovery is gradual, marked by relapses and moments of despair. He clings to the familiar comfort of his shoemaking bench, even as he tries to rebuild his life. It's as if he's afraid to let go of the past, even though it's a source of pain.
I was particularly moved by that passage on the eve of Lucy's wedding, where Dr. Manette, reflecting on his years of imprisonment, says, "In that more peaceful state, I have imagined her in the moonlight, coming to me and taking me out to show me that the home of her married life was full of her loving remembrance of her lost father."
It's such a beautiful and heartbreaking passage. It highlights the power of love and memory to transcend even the darkest of experiences. Even in his darkest moments, Dr. Manette held on to the hope of his daughter's love, imagining a future where he would be remembered and cherished.
But lurking in the shadows of this story is another powerful figure, Madame Defarge, the revolutionary, who keeps a knitted register of those condemned to die.
We talked about symbolism before, and her knitting is such a potent image. It represents the revolution itself, this intricate web of fate weaving together individual lives and historical forces, ultimately leading to destruction. And the chilling matter-of-factness when she says it would be easier to erase oneself from existence than a single name from her register.
It's as if she's become an embodiment of the revolution's cold, calculating side, driven by a thirst for revenge. But she's also a complex figure, right? Driven by her own family's tragic past at the hands of the aristocracy.
She's a product of the very system she's trying to overthrow. It raises those questions we've been talking about. Can a revolution born out of a thirst for justice avoid becoming just another form of oppression?
This tension comes to a head in that courtroom scene where Charles is falsely accused, then saved by Dr. Manette's testimony. You see the power of truth and the enduring bond between father and daughter, but then,
just when we think everything is going to be okay, there's that devastating twist. Charles is rearrested, this time because of his family's past crimes. It makes you question whether true justice can ever be achieved in a society so deeply divided by past grievances.
it's like history is repeating itself.
Wait.
The sins of the fathers are visited upon the sons. Do you think Dickens was trying to warn us about the cyclical nature of violence and revenge?
It certainly seems that way. He's showing us that revolution isn't a clean break from the past. It's messy, complicated, and often leads to unintended consequences. But even amidst this darkness, he offers a glimmer of hope through Sidney Carton.
Right. Carton, who starts out as this cynical, lost soul, undergoes an incredible transformation. It's almost as if the revolution awakens something in him, a sense of purpose he never knew he had.
He recognizes his own wasted potential, his inability to achieve the happiness that Charles and Lucy find together. And yet within him lies this capacity for profound love and sacrifice.
There's that scene where he confesses his love for Lucy, admitting that she's been the last dream of his soul. But he also knows that he can never truly have her. What's interesting is this acceptance of his unrequited love seems to liberate him. It allows him to step outside of himself and embrace a higher purpose.
And it ultimately leads him to make the ultimate sacrifice, taking Charles's place and allowing him to escape with Lucy and their child.
His final words on the steps of the guillotine are incredibly powerful. It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done. It is a far, far better rest that I go to than I have ever known.
These closing lines capture the essence of Carton's transformation from a wasted life to an act of extraordinary selflessness. It's one of the most powerful portrayals of redemption in literature. But I think we need to pause here for now.
Agreed. We've covered a lot of ground. When we return in part 3, we'll delve into the lasting echoes of A Tale of Two Cities and explore what it might reveal about our own times. Welcome back to our deep dive into A Tale of Two Cities. We've talked about the French Revolution, the characters caught in its web, and the themes of sacrifice and redemption. It's a story that stays with you, but what I keep coming back to is this. How does A Tale of Two Cities echo in our own times? What can it teach us about the world we live in today?
Well, Dickens was writing in the 19th century, but his themes of injustice, social unrest, the abuse of power, these feel incredibly relevant right now.
Yeah, I was struck by how vividly Dickens portrays the mob mentality, how quickly fear and anger can escalate into violence. We see this in the scenes of the Reign of Terror, the storming of the Bastille. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power, whether it's in the hands of a mob or a tyrannical government.
Right, and he doesn't shy away from showing us the human cost of this violence. Think about the chilling description of the guillotine. The sharp female, newly born, and called La Guillotine. It's almost a character in itself, this relentless force of destruction.
It really is. That image has stayed with me. And the executioner is referred to as Samson, invoking the sense of biblical judgment and retribution. It's as if the revolution has become a force of nature, unstoppable and unforgiving.
But even in the face of this darkness, Dickens reminds us of the power of individual choice. Sidney Carton's sacrifice is the ultimate act of defiance against this tide of violence. He chooses love over hate, compassion over revenge.
It's such a powerful moment. This seemingly insignificant man rises to the occasion and performs this incredible act of heroism. It begs the question, what does it mean to live a meaningful life even in the face of darkness and despair?
Carton shows us that even small acts of kindness can have a ripple effect. He might not have single-handedly stopped the revolution, but he saved the lives of those he loved, allowing them to start anew. It's a reminder that we can all choose to be a force for good in the world, no matter how small our actions may seem.
His famous last lines, "It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done," resonates so deeply because they speak to this enduring human desire for redemption, for making a difference in the world. It's a reminder that even in the face of our own flaws and failures, we have the capacity for greatness.
What I find most fascinating is how Dickens leaves us with these lingering questions, these echoes that reverberate long after we finish the book. He doesn't offer easy answers or neat resolutions. He forces us to confront the complexities of human nature, the gray areas of morality, the messy realities of revolution.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you'd like our listener to take away from A Tale of Two Cities?
I think Dickens reminds us that history isn't just a collection of dates and events. It's the story of human beings grappling with the same challenges, the same hopes and fears that we face today. By understanding the past, by learning from the mistakes and triumphs of those who came before us, we can perhaps create a better future for ourselves and for generations to come.
Beautifully put. And I think that's the real power of A Tale of Two Cities. It's not just a historical novel, it's a timeless reflection on the human condition. It challenges us to consider our own roles in shaping the world around us, to fight for justice and equality, and to never lose sight of our shared humanity, even in the face of darkness and despair.
And who knows, maybe by engaging with these timeless themes, by recognizing the echoes of the past in our present, we can strive to create a world where the best of times truly prevail.
Couldn't agree more. And for those of you who haven't yet experienced the brilliance of Charles Dickens, I highly encourage you to explore his other works. You'll be amazed by his sharp social commentary, his unforgettable characters, and his enduring ability to make us think, feel, and question the world around us.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into A Tale of Two Cities. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking those echoes of wisdom that resonate through the ages.
And as always, thank you for joining us on the deep dive.